Just starting to tape again here. Sounds like a sort of a strange place to be, but let me set this up. I'm not sure how that's going to focus. But I'm just back into the. I'm not back into the shop. I'm in the shop. I was just sorting out. Here, let me adjust that again. Maybe down would be better. I was just out traveling all around. I had the engine. The engine I got out of the 69. I broke that thing down. I checked it all out, and what a good motor! It was really a good engine. I can't complain. The cylinder head had been rebored, or not rebored. The big thing about that cylinder head, the big thing that makes that thing different, is the exhaust valves. The exhaust valve seats, sorry, had been rebored, and there had been seat inserts put in. Bonus! Saved me having to have it done. And I just took it over to the machine shop, just a couple towns away, and I took the block in, the crankshaft, and the head. And all they're doing is a wash, flush, get the thing cleaned up. I'm having them replace the frost plugs, simply because it's easier for him to do it when it's all cleaned up than it is for me to try and tap them in right here. Big deal. They're only like $2. So he's doing the frost plugs, and I was just so glad that when he put that, or when I checked out that engine, that everything was really freaking near original. I had like sorry, I shouldn't say no. I had, can you imagine this on an engine so old, 1968. The engine was all original, other than the head had been put off, and somebody had put in a steel valve seat on the exhaust, and it shaved the head down just for flat. The block, I pulled it out, took it apart, and I can show you, if you want to see it, I can show you the measurements. I had a 1/2 thou bore loss. I did the main block. I checked that out, top and bottom, 2 directions, so that's 6 times 2 is 12, 24 different measurements. 24 different measurements with a little trick. 24 different measurements, and I was off by 1/2 thou off of what you might call factory. So really, those cylinders just have to be honed out so I can put these little babies back in. So I checked out, I cleaned up one piston, and this is actually number 1 piston, and I'll show you. I don't know if you can see it or whether it's going to show up, and it's a real simple little thing. So you take, here's number 1 piston, connecting rod, bearings, all that stuff. I told you I checked out all the bearing clearances, loose a little bit, but I can still see the machine lines on this piston for its total circumference. So when this thing was milled and made, each little cut at a frequency or at a pass line of probably about 360 cuts per inch, I can still see the absolute grain. Now this thing gets an offset load, of course, when it goes up and down. Every time it turns direction, which is on every rotation, the side baffles, and not baffles, the side load, where you can see the highlight on these pistons is to take more load. I look at the grain above that, and I can still see the original machine lines from when this piston was made. There's some light scoring, very little. I checked the OD, half a thou, almost unmeasurable. My mics, I've standardized them, but half a thou. So this is just a ring job. Clean them all up. We'll take the connecting rods and the pinions out. Oh, thank you. That was just great. So when I went from that, I checked out the crankshaft, and we've got end float or end play, whatever you want to call it, and these are thrust washers, and they're a Babbitt based thrust washer as well. So I want to make sure that I've got maybe, God, would that be nice to have 7 or 8 thou end float. I think factory, the tolerance is probably 12, 13 thou. I checked the thing out. Yeah, I did have like 10, 11 thou on end float. Then I checked these thrust washers, thrust bearings, whatever you want to call them, and I can go back into the book and tell you just what they were supposed to be, but I'm just wiping them off here. They were worn, like 3 or 4 thou. Go right back in my scale of original freaking dimensions. 3/4 thou. I get a factory new, gives me back my 3/4. It was just like bonus. I checked out all my these are my main bearing caps. They all have to be cleaned, but at the same time I did the sorry, just wiping my fingertips off. My measures on those, and I've been at this for 34 years, and I think I can measure within half a thou or a quarter thou. And my main bearings, plus or minus a half a thou right off the factory. My end float worn off on these thrust washers, 2 to 3 thou, put in standards. It makes it so simple. I don't have to oversize anything. My crankshaft, very clean condition. My camshaft, doesn't really matter what it is. I have to check my lobe height. Chances are I'm just going to use the factory cam. I don't like over cammed engines. And it's just worked out. Thank you. Beautifully. I'll just shut you off for a sec.